Brian "Head" Welch seemed to have everything most musicians dream of: fame, fortune, and the love of millions of fans. As the co-founder and lead guitarist of the Grammy-winning new metal band Korn, his distinctive down-tuned guitar riffs shaped the sound of an era. Yet behind the blinding stage lights and roaring crowds, Welch was slowly being consumed by addiction, despair, and a darkness he once believed he could never escape. His journey, and from a multi-platinum artist spiraling on methamphetamine to a man radically changed by faith, is one of the most dramatic rock and redemption stories of modern times. Fame, fortune, and the trap of addiction. Korn formed in Bakersfield, California in 1993, blending heavy metal with hip-hop and alternative influences. Welch and bandmates, Jonathan Davis, James "Monkey" Schaffer, Reginald "Fieldy" Arvizu, and David Silveria created a sound that reshaped rock radio. Their 1998 album Follow the Leader debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and eventually sold over 5 million copies in the US alone. Hits like Freak on a Leash and Got the Life made Korn one of the biggest bands in the world. Welch was living every young musician's dream. Private jets, sold-out arenas, award shows, and financial security. By the early 2000s, Korn had earned 2 Grammy Awards and sold more than 25 million albums worldwide. But life offstage told a different story. The constant pressure of touring, fame, and the party culture of the music industry left Welch vulnerable. He started using methamphetamine in the late 1990s, initially to cope with exhaustion and stress. Soon, the drug was no longer a choice. It was a chain. "I was a slave to meth," he admitted in his memoir, "Save Me From Myself. I tried to quit, but it had me in its claws." The stimulant gave him bursts of energy, but also dragged him into paranoia and depression. Meth addiction is notorious for rewiring the brain's reward pathways, and Welch fell deep into the cycle of craving and crash. Despite having millions in the bank, he lived in fear and emptiness. As Korn's popularity soared, so did his dependency. "We'd play to 10,000 people and then I'd go back to my hotel room and get high. I felt like a fraud," he later recalled in interviews. Darkness behind closed doors. The consequences of Welch's addiction weren't just professional, they were painfully personal. In 1998, he became a father to a daughter, Janaea. He loved her deeply, but meth addiction made him unstable and emotionally distant. In his book, he describes waking up hungover or high, unable to be the dad he wanted to be. "I was dead inside. I didn't want to live anymore," he confessed in a 2015 CBN News interview. He knew his lifestyle was affecting his little girl. There were moments when Janaea would find him unresponsive or withdrawn, and her sadness pierced through the haze of his drug use. Welch's wealth also attracted enablers, people who partied with him but didn't challenge his choices. Loneliness crept in. "It was dark. I had everything, but it didn't fill me," he said later. "Money, fame, women. None of it made me happy." Meth took a toll on his health too. The drug suppresses appetite and sleep, and long-term use can cause anxiety, hallucinations, and heart problems. Welch has described losing weight, feeling paranoid, and battling suicidal thoughts. "I wanted to quit but couldn't. I was trapped in my own personal hell," he wrote. A church, a scripture, and a cry for help. In early 2005, everything began to change. A real estate agent at helping Welch with property investments invited him to church. Welch, desperate for some kind of peace, agreed to go. He walked in exhausted, heartbroken, and unsure if God even existed. That day, the pastor read a passage from the Bible that pierced his soul. Matthew 11:28. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Something inside Welch broke. He remembers praying a raw, unpolished prayer that night. "God, if you're real, take these drugs from me. Help me, I can't do it." Addicts often describe recovery as slow and grueling, but Welch says something miraculous happened. The next morning, the desire for meth was gone. "After years of chains, I was free," he wrote, "and saved me from myself." While some might explain this as a psychological turning point, Welch believes it was divine intervention. "I'd tried everything to quit and failed. But when I cried out to Jesus, the craving vanished. A nightmare of hell and a glimmer of hope." That same night, Welch had a vivid dream that still shapes how he describes his turning point. He saw himself engulfed in flames, surrounded by mocking demons, a vision of torment and hopelessness. Just as despair overwhelmed him, he says Jesus appeared, extending a hand. "He pulled me from the fire. He showed me I had a choice," Welch recalled. For Welch, the dream felt like more than imagination. It was a warning and a rescue. "I woke up knowing I'd been given a second chance," he later said. Experiences like this are hard to categorize. For Welch, it was both spiritual and life-altering, choosing faith over fame. Sobriety was only the beginning. In February 2005, Welch made headlines around the world by announcing he was leaving Korn at the height of their success. Fans were stunned. The band was selling out arenas, and leaving meant walking away from millions of dollars in a secure career. But Welch knew staying in that environment, with its parties, pressure, and temptations, would pull him back. "I loved music, but I couldn't survive that lifestyle," he explained. "I had to choose life." His exit wasn't easy. He faced criticism from some fans who didn't understand. Others mocked his newfound faith. But Welch was determined to rebuild. He devoted himself to raising his daughter, attending church, and learning what it meant to live as a Christian. Rebuilding a life. In the years after leaving Korn, Welch lived more quietly. He released his memoir, Save Me From Myself, in 2007, detailing his journey through addiction and into faith. The book became a New York Times bestseller and gave hope to countless readers struggling with substance abuse. He also launched a solo music career. His first album, also titled Save Me From Myself, 2008, fused heavy riffs with lyrics about struggle, hope, and redemption. Some fans rejected the change, but others, especially those fighting their own demons, connected deeply with his honesty. Meanwhile, Welch focused on parenting Jania. He's spoken about attending her school events, being present at home, and repairing the relationship damaged by his addiction. In interviews, Jania has described how her father's transformation gave her stability and hope. Return to Korn with a new purpose. In 2013, 8 years after leaving, Welch surprised fans by rejoining Korn. The band had invited him back for a one-off performance at the Carolina Rebellion Festival. The reunion felt natural, and soon Welch became a full-time member again. But this time, everything was different. "I came back healthy," he explained. "No drugs, no drinking, no darkness." Welch remained committed to his faith, but also wanted to reconnect with his musical roots and his fans. "I realized I could be a light in that world." His return helped mend friendships and opened doors to share his story with a wider audience. Korn continued touring and releasing albums, but Welch now balances music with ministry. Offstage, he often speaks at churches, recovery events, and conferences, telling people trapped in addiction that freedom is possible. The power of testimony. Welch's story has touched millions, in part because he doesn't sugarcoat his past. In interviews with outlets like CBN News, Rolling Stone, and the New York Times, he's candid about his mistakes and the deep hole drugs dug in his life. But he's equally bold about the hope he found. "I had everything, money, fame, the dream. But I was empty," he told CBN. "Jesus gave me life." His testimony resonates not just with Christians, but with anyone who's felt lost in success or trapped by addiction. Substance abuse remains a global crisis. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, more than 2.5 million Americans struggle with methamphetamine use disorder. Stories like Welch's offer hope that recovery, though hard, is possible, even for those who feel too far gone. Legacy. More than music. Today, Welch tours with Korn and travels the world sharing his story of recovery and faith. He co-founded Loud Crazy Love 2018, a raw look at his journey as a father and the cost of addiction. Beyond music and film, he partners with recovery programs, speaks in prisons, and writes honest, hope-filled books. His message: no addiction is stronger than God's love. If he can free me, a meth-addicted rock star, he can free anyone, he says. From hell to hope. Brian Head. Welch's life shows that success without purpose can feel like hell, but hope can break through. Once on the brink of self-destruction, haunted by visions of hell, he's now free. A father, musician, and voice of hope to others seeking redemption. Brian Head. Welch's journey reminds us that no matter how deep the darkness, hope and freedom are possible. If this story encouraged you or gave you hope, don't let it stop here. Hit like to help more people hear this message of redemption and healing. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of transformation, faith, and hope.